Welcome to Blood Culture World. This demonstration will show the correct procedure for drawing blood cultures, which includes drawing general laboratory specimens all in one venipuncture. I will review required supplies, discuss order of draw, and emphasize the need for proper inversion of laboratory specimens to prevent sending clotted specimens requiring the patient to undergo an uncomfortable additional venipuncture. The supplies required for this procedure include chloroprep. Chlorhexidine is the only required disinfecting agent for the patient's venipuncture site. It requires a 30-second scrub in a back and forth motion, no longer in a circular motion, and allowed to air dry. Please never fan dry a venipuncture site. The additional tubes I will draw during this procedure include the green top and the lavender top, which will be applied to my order of draw procedure. Next is my blood collection set, which will be adapted to the blood culture adapter. This device is very important to use during this procedure because, as you can see, it accommodates the larger top of the blood culture bottle with an adapter inserted to allow better control of the laboratory tubes also to be drawn during one venipuncture. Next, include my blood culture bottle, the green top being the aerobic bottle to be drawn first, and it is to be inoculated, which means simply filled with blood, to a level of at least 5 milliliters, preferably 10 milliliters of blood. Next is the anaerobic, also to be filled to a minimum of 5 milliliters, up to 10 milliliters of blood. As you can see, in order to properly see when you reached that amount, the bottles need to be on a hard surface. Please move the bottles close to the patient's arm, and you can use the bedside table to have these bottles properly aligned so that you don't have to guess when you filled the tubes to the recommended amount. I will first clean my patient's site, and once you've identified the site, at this point I still will not apply my tourniquet. A tourniquet should be applied to a patient's arm no longer than 1 minute. Having the tourniquet applied longer than that can allow substances called analytes to leak from the blood vessels, which could affect the lab result. So first, using my chloroprep, I will disinfect the site, and then I will prepare my adapter and my blood collection set. So I crack the top to allow the chlorhexidine to be absorbed into the sponge, and using a back and forth motion, I scrub vigorously for 30 seconds. I will shorten that 30 seconds only for the purposes of this demonstration, but on an actual patient, please make sure you scrub no less than 30 seconds and never fan dry the site. While that is drying, I can use this time to prepare my blood collection set and my adapter by disconnecting the tubing from the smaller adapter and then connecting it aseptically to the blood culture adapter. I placed a clean paper towel on my surface to allow that to rest, and as I disconnect, I make a point not to touch that end. Also, not touching this end, I will bring the two together, tighten them, and allow this to rest for a moment. When I remove the caps from my blood culture bottles, it is very likely that I will touch the top of the blood culture bottles. Therefore, it is important to disinfect them as well. I have alcohol preps that are allowed to do that. So I will place those there, and using a 10-second scrub minimum, scrub the tops. Once again, I will not fan dry the tops. Once I have disinfected the tops, I can then separate the adapter from my blood culture cap and allow it to rest on the aerobic. The aerobic is going to be the first of the two that I will draw. At this point, I will place these bottles in order so that the process of moving from the blood culture bottles to the laboratory tubes is a smooth one. My order of draw card dictates that my green or heparinized tube is drawn first, followed by my lavender EDTA tube. Inversion is very important as well, and this order of draw card shows the recommended number of times to invert based on the laboratory regulatory requirements. Inversion is very critical. When you inoculate a tube that has additives like these do, inversion allows mixing with those additives. If that mixing process does not occur, the laboratory specimen will clot and the patient will undergo very uncomfortable recollection by experiencing a second venipuncture. Please do not cause the patient to have to undergo that discomfort. So now that I have all my items arranged and ready, I can then apply the tourniquet. The tourniquet should not be applied any higher than either a hand width or approximately 4 inches above the intended site. This is my intended site, so approximately 1 hand width is where I have placed that tourniquet. Because the time is now ticking, I only have 1 minute with that tourniquet applied. I will go ahead and begin my procedure. So with my bevel up, I'll anchor my vein below my intended site and insert my needle and inoculate my aerobic bottle. Once it is filled, I can use my thumb to disengage it and now inoculate my anaerobic bottle. From this point, once it is filled, I can lift it off, apply the adapter, and inoculate my green tube. As the green tube is filling, I begin my inversion. Please make sure you do this, otherwise your specimens will clot. 8 to 10 times is recommended for the green top tube, and 1 inversion is 1 back and 1 forward. When that one is filled, I will inoculate my EDTA or lavender tube. The recommended time for it is 8 to 10 times. Please make sure while you're holding the needle steady, you are inverting properly with the other hand. Once that is finished, I will disengage the tube Release the tourniquet. Apply gauze, but do not press the needle over the puncture site. Press the wings and pull the tubing. This last step protects you as a practitioner from a needle stick. Please never pull out a blood collection set and then activate the guard. That is when injuries occur. So I have completed a venipuncture involving blood culture bottles, 2 laboratory tubes, and I have obtained this in 1 venipuncture. When blood cultures are ordered ×2, make sure you are using a different site, ideally the other arm. If the other arm is not available, make absolutely sure you are using a different vein by tracing the pathway of the veins to ensure that you are not using the same vein that you did in the first venipuncture. And never draw both at the same time. Proper analysis requires a wait time of 30 minutes between blood culture collections. Again, I would like to emphasize the importance of inversion. These order of draw cards are available from the Nursing Education Department. Some units already have these in the form of badge buddies. If you wish to have these on your unit, please contact Vanessa Arline in Nursing Education. If you prefer not to have badge buddies, please request the 8.5 by 11 card. Vanessa can be reached at varline, VARLINE, at stluke'shealth.org. At this time, your validator will test your knowledge. These are very key points for proper blood collection and maintaining the aseptic process for proper analysis. Good luck, and thank you for visiting Blood Culture World.